Welcome to Massive Beers. My name is Matt. We do the beer stuff here. Second time reviewing these folks. Lough? I'm going to say Lough Gill. L-O-U-G-H, Lough Gill Brewing Company. This be their spear. This will be the second barrel-aged beer I've reviewed from them. The first one I picked up, I never heard of these brewers before. But I saw it can. Anytime you give me just a completely black can, that piques my interest in this kind of coppery as opposed to gold kind of thing going on. I'm gonna pay attention. And it was like an exporty stout, barrel aged, but it was in a collaboration with Kelsey Grammer's brewery, Faith American. And I was like, that is a unique conversation. Everything I've seen from Faith American, has been, red ale, a little hazy, blonde ale, stuff like that. So I picked it up and I liked it quite a bit. I'll link the review down below. I actually didn't put a ton of research into this company when I did a review. I kind of focused more on the kind of Faith American side of things. But saw this one kind of pop up in my local bottle shop, and I was like, you know what? I really did enjoy that beer. You're talking about an Irish whiskey barrel-aged Imperial oatmeal stout at 13%. You're kind of talking my language here. So I figured I'd pick it up. Lo and behold, Ireland. They're from Ireland. I don't know, for a brewery to exist in Ireland, and for me having, watching and following a bunch of UK beer tubers and never hearing of this brewery and then see it in the States, it kind of has me thinking, like, is there something weird going on? I don't know. But it's kind of curious that, I don't know, you don't see a lot of Irish breweries. I mean, outside of the obvious ones that we get here in the States. So I'm curious to dive in. Like I said, it's called Spear, 13% Imperial Oatmeal Stout, Irish Whiskey Barrel Aged. And it's aged from the Crothall Distillery, Croithli Distillery, whatever that may be. So they're well water, malted barley, oats, hops, and yeast. Imported by Remarkable Liquids out of New York. So that kind of makes sense why I see it, because Remarkable Liquids is not too far away from where I live. Yeah, done and done. Yeah. It is July 3rd. I keep talking. I drop gems about my new job in my reviews. I love my new job. I love the people I work with. Had off for the 4th of July. They just randomly gave us a half day. So I'm working from home on Friday, which means I'm essentially not at work for 5.5 days, which is kind of fun. Even though I love my job, man, it's nice to have a little bit of a respite. Let's put it that way. Label-wise, listen, anytime you're giving me the black on black on black with the gold/copper, I'm going to be a fan. So definitely a fan of the can art on this one. Beer-wise, I mean, looks the part of a stout, oatmeal stout. All kinds of stouts. It's dark, it's rich, it's relatively thick. It has this nice kind of, where I like my coffee to look like, colored head on it. Under pinky finger, but if I give it a little bit of a whirl, probably going to get a little bit back on that sucker. Okay, not a ton, just evens out a little bit, but it looks quite nice. It looks the part of a stout/barrel-aged stout. Especially with the head being a bit darker, you're drinking something a bit richer, so it leans a little bit closer visually towards that 13%. Let's see what the nose has. It's a pretty sturdy nose. It's not like hyper aggressive in any direction. Sure, you're getting a spirit here. Sure, you're getting like a whiskey portion show here. Sure, it's something elevated above bourbon, but it's not necessarily Scotch. So an Irish whiskey kind of vibe kind of makes sense. The beer side of things, definitely oatmeal stout, because you get this soft little pseudo-lactose vibe off of it. Nothing too roasty toasty. Again, you're talking about oatmeal stout, usually not leaning in the ultra roasty direction. A little bit less than what you'd expect from a 13% based barrel-aged stout, but there is a heft to it. There is a richness to it. It's just not like jumping out of the can or the glass aromatically. But it smells quite nice, that soft little vanilla that you get from the oats, marrying with a little bit of that kind of barrel cherry little goodness to it. A soft little vanilla, soft little chocolate notes outside of that. That spirit kind of come through without being hyper aggressive. I'm digging it. Let's dive in. Cheers, y'all. That's tasty. It's spirit forward. It's spirit forward. The beer's still there. Definitely an oatmeal stout, the way the kind of mouthfeel comes off. There's this, like, slightly rich silkiness to it. This little bit of vanilla vibes. Again, you're probably taking bits and pieces from the spirit portion of the show that's giving you a little bit of chocolate vanilla kind of thing to it, and getting that little dose of vanilla that you typically get from a nice rich oatmeal stout. The spirit here comes off very much kind of Irish whiskey. I'm not an expert by any stretch of imagination when it comes to Irish whiskey, but Irish whiskeys, for the most part, for me as a layman, tend to have a little bit of a hot spot, a little bit of a bite, a little bit of aggressiveness on the back end, kind of getting a little bit of that actually, and in the top back of my throat, something like that. Typical or standard, or what I would usually get from a kind of Irish whiskey if I was going to take a shot of something like that. Obviously much more muted, much more subdued, being that it's a barrel-aged beer, but it's similar to that, so I'm getting those kind of vibes to it. I actually like this. It's not like anything like... It's not like it's like, again, rewriting the books of a stout, a barrel-aged stout, a oatmeal barrel-aged stout, something like that. I've gotten quite a bit more chutzpah or aggressiveness from oatmeal stouts. I'm looking at you, Hop and Frog, who is pretty much, that's their big deal when it comes to barrel-aged stouts. And while they can be hit or miss, when they're on, they're on. I like this as far as like a really cool kind of, for lack of a better term, there's just almost a drinkability. You get that little bit of a little pinch of heat, little pinch, that Irish whiskey thing on the back of your throat. Everything else here is relatively easy to drink. You're talking about a 13% barrel-aged stout. Not expecting an easy drink when it comes to that kind of thing, but considering that it's an oatmeal stout and how the rest of the beer comes off, stands that little pop of bitterness that lets you know you're alive. So maybe that's a bonus. I like it. Mouthfeel, I prefer, well, maybe a little bit fuller, but you're talking about a barrel-aged oatmeal stout, so it's right where you'd expect. The beer is there. There's actually a little roast toastiness, I think, that comes from the barrel, but you're also a little barrel charriness. You're getting a little bit of roast toastiness on the malts, but you're also getting a nice silken kind of pseudo vanilla thing from those oatiness. Spirit comes through. I dig this. I think it's quite tasty. Let's cut the chase. Is it one of the better barrel-aged stouts that I've had as late? Mount Rushmore status? No. It's in the conversation. It's one of the better oatmeal stouts, barrel-aged oatmeal stouts that I've had in quite some time. In the conversation, probably just on the outside looking in, just because there are some brews that don't scotch better, doesn't mean this is a pretty tasty price point on this. I want to go 18 for a 4-pack. 12-ounce can, 4 divided by 18. You do the math. You're talking about, what is that, 4? Math is hard for me. I was at $4.25, $4.50 a can. Not going to get too overtly upset over that kind of price point. I'll leave you with, if you like what? Will you like this? If you like barrel-aged oatmeal stout, I mean, that's so simplistic to think that way, but I think it's kind of on the nose because it's not like new school ultra barrel-aged craziness, like a Revolution or something like that. It's not like a Russian Imperial Stout kind of barrel-aged stout. This is nothing close to what you get from like an old Rasputin kind of barrel-aged or something like that. But if you think about those breweries that really lean into an oatmeal stout that's barrel-aged, again, the Hop and Frogs of the world is immediately what comes to mind. There is this soft richness to the beer with that spirit in combination. So if you dig on Irish whiskey, dig on oatmeal stouts, this is kind of a really nice combination. So there you go. Review in the books. Hopefully you enjoyed. Lough. Let's go Lough Gill. Brewing. Have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? I'm really curious about this. What's their dealio in Ireland? Are they a legit brewery, or are they just a brewery that kind of produces some stuff from Ireland and kind of exports it to the United States? I don't know anything about them. Curious if anybody out there knows. Down there, let's talk about it, especially if you've had this beer or that Faith American one. Like I said, all that fun stuff down there. Hopefully you enjoyed the review. Hopefully you're enjoying barrel-aged beer right now. Hope we'll see you next time. Cheers, all.